A wise man once said, the only difference between stepping stones and stumbling blocks is how you view and use them. Yesterday was one of the worst days of my entire life. If I'm being objective, it was probably the worst day I've had in maybe 3, 4, 5 years. It was extremely rough. I felt like I was at my wit's end, and I truly kind of wanted to give up on a lot of instances yesterday. But I didn't. I'm sure everybody's been at a point where we feel like we hit rock bottom. That place where we feel hopeless, we don't want to continue, we feel like we're too overwhelmed and we can't handle what's on our plate and on our shoulders. We feel desperate, we feel maybe angry, we feel empty, we feel let down. Rock bottom's a scary place to be, but it's also one of the most empowering places you can ever be as a human being. Let's talk about it. In this video, I'm going to talk about the benefits that we can gain from hitting rock bottom. Now, obviously, from a surface level point of view, hitting rock bottom is not a good thing. Objectively, it's not. You know, we're at our lowest point, we feel like giving up. All of that is pretty traumatizing to a person. However, if we change our perspective on it, I think we can extract a lot of value from being at that low state. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about exactly what happened, but long story short, I went to get my car maintenance last week, a week ago yesterday actually. Went to get my car maintenance at Nissan. This was more precautionary than anything else and just me being proactive. There was nothing inherently wrong with my car. There were a couple things I could have worked on. I went in to get my tires rotated, oil changed. I think my struts replaced or something like that. I don't know. There was nothing that was super pressing for me to address. But I wanted to take care of it so that I wouldn't have more expensive repairs down the line. I mean, even with some basic repairs, it came to almost $1,500. And I paid it. Reluctantly, I don't like spending money, but I paid it. That was a week ago, yesterday. So yesterday, something happens. I'm not going to say exactly what it was, but my car breaks down in the middle of a highway. If y'all live in Chicago, I was on Kennedy Expressway, which I think is 94, I don't know, 90. I was in the middle of the road and my car started to sputter and it stopped in the middle of a busy highway during rush hour. There was so much traffic. It was crazy, pandemonium all around me. Now, my first response was I wanted to freak out because I just got in maintenance. There was nothing wrong with my car and I was in the middle of a busy highway. It was dangerous. I couldn't get out the car. I had to put my hazards on and just sit there. The car would not turn on or off after that. And I remember looking like, man, what am I supposed to do right now? I don't know how expensive these repairs are gonna be. I just got my car maintenance and I wanted to freak out. Now I have to call AAA. I have to call roadside assistance. I have to hopefully get AAA to tow me to Nissan. They had to keep my car overnight and now my car's there and I'm probably not gonna get it back till tomorrow or Monday. And it was just rough. It was rough. Now I gotta pay for an Uber to get home, right? I didn't want to rent a car because it would have been more expensive. So I paid for an Uber to get home. Uber cost me like $35 to get from Evanston to my place. Then I got home, I ordered some food, and guess what? The incorrect food gets delivered to my house. And so I started to employ my stoic beliefs and allow myself to remain calm and think, what can I gain from this situation? And just like every other tough situation in my life, I gained a whole lot of value from going through this yesterday. The first benefit to hitting rock bottom is the increased awareness about our life and our circumstances. So many of us, whenever we have a problem, we have an issue, we have maybe some detrimental habit or addiction even, sometimes it takes hitting that low state for us to even acknowledge that it exists. There are certain habits that you may be employing, right? There may be some things you do that you don't want to do anymore or that you kind of hide behind closed doors and don't expose to people because it may make you feel uncomfortable because you know it's a problem deep down. But as long as you're not at that breaking point, it's very easy to ignore these things and to even rationalize them in some ways. So we do it knowing that it's probably wrong. Then after the fact, in order to make ourselves feel better, to coddle our own psyches and emotions, we then rationalize in retrospect and say, well, it wasn't that bad. I don't have a problem. I might do this, I might do that, but it's not really a problem. I can stop at any time. And many times it's not the case. I liken it to when I went to college, Vanderbilt University, and I had no study habits. Now in high school, I got by without studying because I knew how to work the system, man. I kept straight A's my whole entire life, and I never established firm study habits. So I got to college, I hit my breaking point. I left school, I took a leave of absence my freshman year, almost dropped out, almost transferred to another school, and I hit that breaking point and it awakened me and it said, yo, you gotta learn how to study better, but then give your all and let the chips fall. And it wasn't until then that I got a healthy relationship with my experience in college. And I flourished from that point on. I had an amazing experience. Ended up going to one of the best business schools in the world afterwards, all because I had increased awareness when I hit my breaking point. Another benefit to hitting rock bottom is that you're now more equipped to overcome challenges and to face adversity. So think about when people say, man, if I knew then what I know now. We all have said that, right? If I knew at 20 what I know at 25, if I knew at 15 what I knew at 20. How much better off would I be right now? That's an idealistic view. You know, in a perfect world, that would be the case. We could go back and fix things, but the world's not perfect. But what we can do when we hit rock bottom is we have somewhat of a clean slate to just readjust ourselves, realign ourselves, take a deep breath, and just go with this added knowledge that we have. So even if it's a challenging circumstance, embrace the fact that you've learned so much more. Think of all the insight you've gained and knowledge you've gained over the years, just going throughout life and traveling on these journeys and making your own path. Think of everything you've gained in knowledge, you know? Embrace that and use that to then better navigate and shoot for whatever you're shooting for more methodically moving forward. The third benefit of hitting rock bottom is that it forces you to surrender. Destroy your ego, move without fear, and to just let go and look for guidance elsewhere. Think about when you hit that bottom point, that low point, and you feel like you're about to break. Everything that you've done up to this point has led you to that situation. Every action I've taken has led me to this breaking point right here. I've done it my way. Now it's time for me to look deeper within, which means I'm looking deeper to God and the higher power. And I have to find somewhere else to get my guidance from because my way has not worked. Sometimes you have to let it all go and just humble yourself and say, look, I'm going to listen now. I'm not going to direct God. I'm not going to tell God what to do. I'm just going to listen. And I'll find guidance that way. I think of the scene in Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm sure everybody's seen it. And when Zuko was trying to lightning bend and he went up on the mountain and it was storming out and he was just begging for lightning to strike him. And some people viewed that scene as him just wanting to practice his lightning bending because he couldn't do it like Azula could. I kind of took it from a darker perspective. It seemed like Zuko was almost at his breaking point and wanting to give up on life. He had been dealt a pretty terrible hand at a young age, and he's been so angry in his entire life, and he's starting to become disillusioned with everything he was fighting for. And you see when he says, you've never held back before, and he just gives up. He screams, he has a tear coming out of his eye. He was at that breaking point, and it's interesting to contrast that with his progression from that point forward. It's a beautiful thing to see him and his redemption arc change. He changes his life over time. I feel like Zuko hit a breaking point, and it was at that point where he even started to contemplate, maybe there's something else I need to be doing on this earth. Maybe this is not the way. All this anger, all this pent-up aggression and bitterness, maybe I need to find a way to let go and to move forward. I also think of Bojack Horseman when everything is hitting the fan, his life is becoming ruined after he was building up. Of course, he almost pretty much overdoses, and we see the episode, The View from Halfway Down, where he's in purgatory in a sense. He's on his way to the afterlife, and he's coming to grips with everything that he did wrong, everything that he failed in, every person he failed or disrespected or treated badly. That was his breaking point, when he realized he could not save himself and that he was pretty much gone. Almost never had a chance to live life again after everything he had done. He ends up surviving it. He goes he's arrested and he has to do his time. And the rest of the series, I guess the last episode is just pretty much him not even making amends with his past, but understanding that he has to move on from it. And the people that he was involved with are no longer going to be a part of his life. And they're going to move on and be, better off without him. He hit his breaking point and he was forced to surrender to whatever. He could not be the Hollywood star anymore. He couldn't hide behind his money. He couldn't hide behind his status. Just had to surrender and hopefully move forward from there. The fourth benefit to hitting rock bottom is that you're going to have way more compassion and empathy for other people. So of course, if I've been through a tough circumstance and it depressed me or made me feel terrible or it was traumatic, I'm going to have a deeper understanding for what that even feels like and how tough it is to climb out of that hole. So anytime I see somebody else who's at their breaking point or may seem like it, or they may be struggling to climb up their ladder, I'm going to have way more compassion towards them because I know what it feels like. I may not be able to walk in your shoes 100%, but I can kind of understand the space that you're in. So I'm going to give you extra love and extra care and extra support just because I know I would never want anybody to be stuck in that hole. Because anybody who's climbed from rock bottom can tell you, being in that hole is not a comfortable place. It's often what sparks you to climb out of it. So helping somebody else climb out of it is going to be such an amazing and fulfilling feeling. And sometimes you don't even know how to navigate that until you've hit that breaking point yourself. And now you're able to then pay it forward and help other people climb from their holes as well. Number 5 is kind of in line with number 4, but it makes you an inspiration to others. One thing I dedicated myself to at a very young age was telling my story. I saw so much growing up, so much I probably shouldn't have seen. I grew up fast, right? I dealt with a lot of trauma, a lot of pain, a lot of struggle, a lot of hardship, but a lot of triumph. a lot of overcoming, a lot of focusing and locking in and beating the odds, being an example. So to this day, I tell my story. It's the reason why I do these YouTube videos. I tell my story. I speak about things I learned because somebody might need it. I don't care if it's one person. Somebody might need it today. Somebody watching this right now might be at their breaking point. They might want to give up, and they might see this and say, look, he did it. He made it through his situation. I can do it too. Stop thinking about numbers. It doesn't have to be a million people. Yo, if you can touch one person with your story, that's enough. You saved a life. You changed somebody's life forever. You made the world a better place because of your story of overcoming and of triumph. You will be such an example to others if you're willing to share those stories when you've climbed up out of rock bottom. The sixth benefit to hitting rock bottom is that it forces you to take responsibility. So when you hit that low point and you feel like giving up, you have nowhere to turn to. Of course, we all have support systems of different sizes and maybe different communities that help us out. Of course, I can always go to my mother or some of my family members for help if I need it. But when you're at that breaking point, you start to realize how alone you are. Even with the love and support around you, it's nobody else's responsibility to change your life for the better and to help you climb out that hole. Will people help? I'm sure they will. But is it their responsibility? No, it's your life. So when you're at that breaking point, that rock bottom, you feel like everything is going wrong. What are you going to do? Because you can crumble if you want to, and you can crumble forever until the day you die. Or you can take responsibility and build yourself back up, little by little. Stop trying to boil the ocean, step by step, one little bit at a time. You climb, you climb, you climb, you get stronger, you get better. And that's all you need to do. Get a little bit better every day. Hitting rock bottom is going to force you to take responsibility. If you don't take responsibility after hitting rock bottom, you will never climb out of that hole. And I want you guys to climb out of that hole. Please, please, please climb out of that hole. But it takes you taking accountability for your actions. And you can do it. Just believe and keep your focus and keep your discipline. You will be okay, I promise you. Next is your skin gets tougher. When I was going through that situation yesterday, man, I really wanted to crack you. I wanted to scream. I wanted to lose my mind and lose composure and call my mom. I didn't even notify my mom or any of my family members of what I was dealing with. Because I just thought about it. You know, I practiced stoicism, you know, and I felt every emotion deeply. I was angry. I was upset with myself. I was disappointed. Felt like trash. But I chose how I was going to react to it. I stayed calm the whole entire time. When I called AAA, when I called roadside assistance, I didn't give anybody any attitude. I was very frustrated on the inside, but those people did not deserve to suffer me. So I stayed calm. I thanked them for their time and their support. I stayed patient. I saw my clock for roadside assistance. It said like 45 minutes and it took longer than that. And I was hungry. My phone was dying. And I said, what can I control in this? I can control the fact that I stay calm. Do what I have to do. You have to get your car fixed. Okay, big whoop. You can't change that right now. So how are you going to react? You're going to let this ruin your day. And I chose not to. So now this is it's a microcosm of my life in so many ways that when something tough happens, I'm not shaken by that. There's nothing that can shake me. I've been shaken by the most crazy things already. I'm at a young age. I've seen them. And look at me still standing. Look at you still standing. Look at us still standing. That's something to celebrate, yo. So when you hit rock bottom, yeah, it feels terrible in the moment, but understand, after you climb out of that, your shoulders are so much stronger than they were before. Nothing can break you down if you defeat rock bottom. Nothing can break you down. You will bounce back like a champion because that's who you are. The eighth benefit of hitting rock bottom is that you'll have an increased sense of gratitude. Sometimes when you're at that lowest state, that lowest point, and you feel like giving up and nothing feels like it's going right, it makes you appreciate the small beauties of life and the simple pleasures, you know, seeing a baby smile, right? Hearing a baby laugh, or listening to the birds chirp, or just observing nature and flowers, smelling fresh air, or holding the door for a stranger. All of these things are beautiful. There was a man yesterday who, he stopped. I was in the middle of the highway, my hazards on, my car, there's a bunch of cars driving by, and this man pulled over on the left shoulder, and he stopped. He weaved through traffic on foot, put his life in danger, just to ask me if I wanted help to push my car to the side so that I could be safer. And I ultimately decided not to get the help simply because roadside assistance was already almost at my location, and the dispatcher advised me to stay in the car and not move around because there was too much traffic. But that made my day. I was so grateful. I was so grateful. He did not have to help me like that or reach out for help. God bless that man. When roadside assistance got to me, they were about to tow my car to Nissan, and I asked them, is it okay if I ride with you to Nissan? Because I'm gonna have to get an Uber back from there to my house, but I need to speak to the people there first to see what's going on. And I really don't have a bunch of extra bread to be Ubering from here to Nissan back home, back. And the guy said, yeah, it's typically against AAA policy, but we're a third party. I'm gonna let you ride with me and I'll help you out today. He didn't charge me extra for it. I was grateful. I was thankful. And when I thought about my circumstance, even being in the car when it first happened, and I'm thinking in my head, yo, I just spent $1,500 a week ago to the day getting my car checked out, getting my car fixed up and everything. And now I'm gonna have to spend who knows how much to get this taken care of. When my car stopped, I'm on the highway, it's hot, I'm chilling. In my head, I'm like, I'm looking at all the cars ride by, and instead of losing my mind and freaking out about the fact that I gotta pay a bunch of money now, I said, man, I'm blessed. Right here, right now, I'm blessed. Nobody hit my car. I didn't get injured. I didn't lose something more important to me. Just an inconvenience. My car broke down. So what? I'm breathing, man. I'm here. My car didn't catch on fire, didn't combust. I'm here. I could have easily gotten out of the car and gotten hit by a car, or somebody sideswiped me, or anything could have happened. But guess what? I'm here to tell you guys this story and to tell you about how much of a blessing it is just to be breathing and to be alive. Hitting rock bottom will teach you gratitude, man. And small things will start to seem so much more beautiful when you embrace that. The ninth benefit of hitting rock bottom is that it's going to force you to look within and to minimalize your life in so many ways. When you feel hopeless, I think so many of us, we start to understand what's really important. Some of us, that point happened for us last year when the pandemic hit. And some people are still kind of at that point. But you start to understand what you truly care about and what you value and what's really important. So you'll start to cut out toxic people who don't add value to your life, people who don't enrich you, don't uplift you, people and things that drain you. You'll start to rid yourself of those in your life, because when you're at that point, all you want is peace. All you want is redemption. All you want is somebody to save you, or something to save you from what you're dealing with. So you don't have time to worry about petty beefs or people who aren't for you and don't truly believe in you and love you the way that they say they do. You don't have time for it. Even some of your hobbies, maybe you party a lot, maybe you drink a lot. You'll probably stop a lot of that stuff too, because you're so focused on trying to get control of your life so that it can be as fulfilling as you know it should be. So you'll start to cut out things. It's addition by subtraction, man. I did so much of it last year, and I wasn't even at a breaking point last year, but I did addition through subtraction so much. And even yesterday, just thinking about it, there's still some small things that I need to rid my life of right now, that after yesterday, realizing that I don't like being in that helpless situation and feeling like I'm struggling with bread in certain areas because I've spent recklessly or whatever, I have to make a change. So I've already cut certain things out since yesterday, not even 12 hours ago, because I'm ready for that change. So for somebody who lives a pretty minimalistic life already, I've now minimalized my life even more, and I'm only focused on what's important, which is my craft, YouTube stuff, my business, you know what I'm saying, and my life moving forward and my legacy as a man for my family. So the 10th and final benefit of hitting rock bottom is that the only place you can go is up. You've seen the darkness, now you can appreciate light. You've seen what it's like to be hopeless, to feel empty, to be completely lost and want to give up. You know what it's like to almost break, but you have to keep moving. And you know you cannot sink any lower than you sunk to this point. It's impossible. There's nothing below. You're at the lowest point. Now what? You still want to live life, right? You still want to have a productive experience on this earth. You still want to provide something of value to the world and make an impact. So common sense would say, if I can't sink any lower, but I have to move, I can only move up. You can only move up. And you have to just change your perspective on this whole rock bottom thing. Yo, I know it sucks in the moment. Let's keep it a bean, it sucks. But think of everything you've gained from this experience that you can now give to the world and bless other people with. I just listed 10 benefits of hitting rock bottom, hitting the worst point of your life. I just gave you 10 benefits. There are probably so many more. I could have gone on all day about the benefits of hitting rock bottom and how it can change your life for the better and change your life forever and change the world forever. But think about it. You have all of these benefits now to add to your toolkit, to add to your repertoire, to embrace, to uphold, and to give to other people when they might need it as well. I can't wait to see you guys continue to climb. Like I said, this video, it just came to me yesterday because I was struggling, man. In the moment, I had to make a split-second decision of how am I going to navigate this situation. I chose to find value in it and to find appreciation and gratitude. I would love for you guys to be able to do the same when you're at your breaking point. Because when you're at the breaking point, just don't break. Please just don't break. I'm begging you. You can splinter, you can crack, you can limp, you can crawl, you can hurt, you can scream. Just please promise me you won't break, because the world deserves to have you not be broken, and the world deserves to have your magic. So before we close out, I want to give you guys some quotes that I love about hitting rock bottom and what that can do for your life. I love the fact that they have these perspectives on what it means to hit your lowest point when you want to give up. First one is a song called Rock Bottom, written by J.R. Cobb and Buddy Bowie. And the song reads, "Rock bottom is good solid ground. and a dead-end street is just a place to turn around. It's speaking about that perspective on understanding that when you hit that point, only thing you can do is progress. So let's get to progressing. For more spiritual, religious people, there's a Kirk Franklin quote where he says, sometimes God allows us to hit rock bottom so we can realize that he's the rock at the bottom. I thought that was so beautiful as well. You know, whether you're a Christian or whatever you believe in, even if you don't believe in anything, it's comforting to know that when you're at that lowest point, even though you feel alone, there's some spiritual force that's there to support you and uplift you no matter what and help you to climb out of your hole. There's also a quote by a man named Václav Havel, I believe his name is, forgive me for pronunciation, former president of the Czech Republic, and he spoke, "There are times when we must sink to the bottom of our misery to understand truth, just as we must descend to the bottom of a well to see the stars in broad daylight." I love that quote. I love that quote. Sometimes without darkness, you can't even appreciate light, or sometimes without the hard days, you can't appreciate the easy days. Without rough seas, you can't appreciate smooth sailing. Without the rain, you might not be able to appreciate the light, the sunshine. This one is by the great Muhammad Ali, and so many sports figures that I've studied have similar perspectives on failure and letdowns and dark places. So Muhammad Ali spoke, "Only a man who knows what it's like to be defeated can reach down to the bottom of his soul and come up with the extra ounce of power it takes to win when the match is even." So it's almost like you have to fail to even understand how to win, you know? They say Michael Jordan was talking about the reason he's a champion. He got 6 rings is because he missed 1,000,000 shots, right? He took 1,000 shots a day and missed so many of them. That's the only reason he can make that game winner in the NBA Finals, because he's taken the ones that he's missed them, and he's become stronger because of it. The final quote I want to go over is by a man named Emile Durkheim. Please forgive pronunciation. I want to say he's seen as one of the forefathers of modern sociology. And what he spoke was, when this ultimate crisis comes, when there's no way out, that's the very moment when we explode from within and the totally other emerges. The sudden surfacing of a strength, a security of unknown origin, welling up from beyond reason, rational expectation, and hope. When your back is to the ropes, when your back is against the wall, when there's no way out, you have no choice but to rise. It's like we spoke about, when you're at that bottom point, you have no choice but to go up. Just go up, man. Go up. My last example is David Goggins with the cookie jar analogy, where when he's in a race, or he was in a race, the 100-mile race, and his body was breaking down, and he almost felt like he wasn't going to finish. He wanted to quit. And he began to think about his past, challenges he had overcome, adversity he had overcome and defeated, different triumphs he'd had, different successes and wins he'd had. And he said he would just take any little tidbit of overcoming adversity or finding success to push him forward to get to his next goal. That's the only way he was able to defeat whatever he was dealing with in that dark place when he hit rock bottom. So I'm encouraging you guys to do the same. Find a quote that you like, post it on your wall, put it on your phone background, whatever you gotta do. But when you're at your breaking point, just please don't break. That's all I got for y'all, man. Love.